So, what happens after the revolution? It's a huge question. After a massive student-led movement, the July movement, completely upended the government, Bangladesh is standing at a major crossroads. And right now, two incredibly powerful, totally opposite ideas are fighting to shape its future. It's the fire of idealism versus the cold, hard facts of reality. This is the battle for a new Bangladesh. On one side of this debate, you've got Lutful Hasan Rumi. He's a cultural activist who's been pulled right into the center of politics by this movement. And his words? They demand a total, clean break from the past. For him, the old system, the constitution, the whole structure of the state wasn't built to serve people. It was built to exploit them. The only answer in his mind is to tear it all down and start over.
And this is where things get really interesting. Because for every passionate voice like Rumi's, there's a counterpoint. Let's call it the voice of the veteran analyst, the pragmatist in the room, who's asking, okay, but what are the real-world consequences? What happens the day after you burn it all down? And this isn't just some academic debate. We're talking about the stability of an entire nation.
Okay, so let's get into the first big clash, chaos. After a massive political change, things are gonna get messy. The question is that instability a necessary price you have to pay for freedom, or is it a deadly trap that could swallow the revolution whole?
From Rumi's point of view, all this unrest, it's not a bug, it's a feature. He basically argues that whenever a country goes through a revolution, you should expect a period of instability. It's just part of the process. For him, the chaos itself isn't the problem. The real test is how the new leaders handle it and guide the country through it.
But our veteran analyst immediately pushes back on that. Okay, sure, a little chaos is expected, but for how long? A week? A month? A year? When does this natural phase just become a permanent state of crisis? And more importantly, who's actually paying the price? It's the everyday people trying to live their lives and the economy that supports them. That's a very real, very serious concern.
And that whole debate about chaos, well, it leads us directly to an even bigger question. Do you try to fix the system you've just taken over, or do you have to demolish it completely and start from square one?
Rumi's stance on this is absolutely clear. He believes the old state is rotten to its core. He says, quote, their constitution, their state structure, their administrative system, everything was basically to exploit us. So for him, just changing a few laws is like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. The entire thing has to go. Otherwise, a new group will just pick up the same tools and use them to exploit people all over again.
Now this slide, it just lays out the two futures so perfectly. On one side, you have Rumi's incredible, bold vision, a completely new constitution, a new two-house parliament, a new system of provincial government. I mean, it's a total reset. But on the other side, the analyst is seeing red flags everywhere. A new constitution could create a massive power vacuum. Tearing down old institutions could lead to total collapse, and you'd lose decades of institutional memory. Even the bad stuff can teach you something. It's a massive gamble. Which brings us to maybe the most critical question in all of this. If you're going to walk this razor's edge between a glorious revolution and complete collapse, what kind of leader could possibly pull that off? For Rumi, the perfect leader has to have some very specific qualities. They need incredible courage, right? The kind of courage that inspires such fierce loyalty that, as he says, their followers would literally jump into the sea for them. They have to be honest, patriotic, but it's that last point that really kicks up the dust. Defends their people, right or wrong. So what on earth does that mean, to own your people? Rumi gives this example. When protesters stormed a government building, some called it looting. He called it a victory celebration. He says a real leader, like the interim head Dr. Yunus, has to stand up and defend those actions. Why? Because those actions didn't happen in a vacuum. They were a direct reaction to years of oppression. For Rumi, that's the ultimate test of leadership. You back your people, no matter what.
And this quote, wow, it just sums up his entire worldview. Rumi, borrowing a line from Mao, says revolution is not a dinner party. It's not supposed to be polite or tidy. He's not hiding from the fact that in a real revolution, blood will be shed. And yes, laws will be broken. In his mind, those actions are outside the normal rules because they are what it takes to bring down a fascist system. But you can imagine, for our veteran analyst, this is a massive red flag. A leader who defends their people right or wrong, well, where does that stop? Where's the line between being loyal and just letting lawlessness run wild? And doesn't that risk creating a new cult of personality where the leader is above the law? You have to ask, Are you just swapping one kind of authoritarian for another?
So when you pull the camera back, you see what this is really all about. We are left with this classic, timeless conflict that has been at the heart of every revolution in history, the ultimate showdown between our highest ideals and our messy reality.
It really boils down to this. The revolutionary, the idealist, like Rumi, is completely captivated by a vision of the world as it could be, a perfect nation, washed clean of all its past sins. The pragmatist, on the other hand, is grounded in the world as it is, with all its flaws and complications, and is terrified of making things even worse.
And that leaves us, and you, with one final, really tough question to think about. When you're trying to build a new country from the ground up, what's the bigger threat? Is it the soaring idealism of the revolutionary, which could lead to something amazing or crash and burn spectacularly? Or is it the cautious cynicism of the pragmatist, which might keep things stable but could also prevent any real change from ever happening? That's the choice at the very heart of this battle for Bangladesh.